as we talk about the woke stuff, it's really interesting how the people who are really, really into the LGBTQ woke stuff in games tend to be really sexually interested people, in the sense that they aren't straight, mind you, but they have to make everything about something sexual. They just can't play a game or have a conversation or anything without bringing up gay sex or some sort of queer sexual thing. And it's really interesting how role-playing is supposed to be a mental exercise in literal putting yourself in a role of a character and staying in character during that time so that you can exercise your imagination. So maybe role-playing would be used as a healthy tool for developing characters if you were going to write a book, or maybe it's just like traditional Dungeons and Dragons. You're telling a story, but you're allowing people to interact with the various elements of that story so that it feels more real in a way than it would be if you were just reading a book or watching a movie. Of course, we have role-playing games and MMORPGs where we play the role of various characters, and during the time you're playing the game, you essentially are that character in that world. That's the fun of it. You get to break with the real world and be someone else in a completely different place. But that doesn't have anything to do with some sort of a sexual fetish. And now, if you go into a lot of MMORPGs, you'll see it. Like Final Fantasy XIV was this way a lot. I think ESO was this way to some degree. But you have these people who just always want to turn everything into some sort of a sexual thing. They're advertising LGBTQ guilds, and they're not really trying to make a guild for people that are like-minded because they're all gamers and they just want a safe place where people aren't going to judge them. That's not really what it's about. What it really is about is that these individuals are looking for an opportunity where they can have the privacy to engage in some sort of a sexting kind of a thing, where they're typing a bunch of dirty sort of little queer comments to each other and having a good time doing their perverted things, which ultimately I do not care. It's fine if you want to be a pervert. It's no problem. I'm all for sexy female characters in games. I like to see them. I think most guys do, and that's fine. We won't judge you. But when the culture starts to try to force itself to make everybody this way, it starts to feel like the wokesters really, they do not just want you to accept them. They want you to become one of them. They want you to go dye your hair the color of the rainbow. They want you to go sign up for a sex change operation. They want you to go all the way down the path and start role-playing some sort of a gay fetish. And until you're at that level, then they're going to continue to try to push that agenda. And I think that that's one thing that really is off-putting about a lot of this woke stuff. It's not that it's included. It's not that you could hypothetically have the option to express yourself in a unique way if you wanted to. What it is that it feels like they're trying to take it beyond just making people accept them, and it's all about trying to say that you have to also have that actual lifestyle, and if that's not who you are, then you are essentially a bigot. Just like it's not about, with the racism stuff, it's not about saying let's appreciate all people and allow them to freely be themselves. It's about saying let's see if we can start talking about reparations. Let's see if we can take white people and tell them that they are fundamentally a problem, a blight on society. So now if you are a minority or you check one of those tick marks, then you are good. But if you are a person who is part of the old guard, part of the legacy culture or legacy identity or legacy race, then you are a problem. And that's something which is just, it's so off-putting, because it feels like instead of trying to be more inclusive, we're trying to push people out. We're trying to say, you can't have a sexy female character in a game. You have to have a character that looks gay. Like, that's how it is. And so it's not adding content so that if you wanted to customize your character in a way that looks more gay or more queer, you could do that if you wanted to, but you can still have all of those other options available to you. It's really all about that subtle, continually changing the narrative to try to minimalize and marginalize anything that is traditionally desirable. Masculine things are not allowed. Traditional, you want to be a buff macho guy character going out there to to whoop on the enemies, you can't do that, because that's that's toxic masculinity. But if you want to be a soy boy character, then by all means go for it. And that is unfortunate, because when you go back to this concept of role playing, why do we role play? Why do we turn on our computers, go into a RPG, and explore a world which is not our own? Why do we want to do that? And the reason we want to do that is because maybe we want to be able to freely engage in that thought exercise of imagining ourselves as something different, something, maybe a better version of ourselves, or maybe a different story playing out, a different version of our lives. I don't know, just different things, but we want to be able to be creative in that way. And when somebody forces you to play their idea of what, I guess, their fantasy, instead of a fantasy that reflects your idealized version of the story, well, you don't want to play their story. And that's just like writing a book that very few people are interested in, and then forcing them all to read it and say, we're going to ban any other books that are out there until you have only one book left to read. And then you're going to learn to love this book because it's going to be the only reading material available to you. And at some point, you just get tired of that. You get mad about that, and you start to feel like, you know what, life is tough enough without us contaminating our entertainment and trying to create an environment where we don't have the option to escape. If you want to be inclusive, then you make a path that allows everyone to have their own niche. And that's totally different, though, than trying to tell people that they have to give up who they are, because who they are is viewed as somehow obsolete or somehow not in line with the new deal, not approved by the current agenda. That's all about being destructive. And I think it's a disservice to role-playing when we start trying to act like role-playing has to have some sort of a sexualized element, or it has to have some sort of a queer connotation, because then it turns off normal people and they just don't want to, they don't want to mess with it anymore. So, yeah.